So the demo for the first Berserker Khazan just dropped. I played it and it's actually kinda good. I know a lot of people are gonna roll their eye when they see a cel-shading anime character in video games, especially when the first trailer which was shown during the Game Award has a semi-realistic look and they just decide not gonna buy it. Which I can sort of agree, a lot of those games are either gacha slop or have the most boring dialogue and story that will put anyone to sleep the moment the characters start talking. But this is one of those rare ones, and I can give a few reasons why this might be one of the best Souls-like games. First reason is it's a good action Souls-like. If you are a fan of Blacksmith Wukong with its blend of Souls-like elements, you're gonna like this one. The combat in this game is heavily dependent on stamina. In a fight, you need to manage both your stamina and your enemy stamina. If you dodge or got too much, you leave no stamina for inflicting damage, especially against enemy with massive HP pool. Or, worse, get stun lock when an enemy attacks while you're low on stamina. This is when the parry system comes into play. Parrying enemies' attack, not only do you reserve your stamina for counterattack, but some attack you parried could stun the enemy, cutting away their stamina reserve. Unlike many other anime games where the emphasis of combat is just how much damage you and your NPC allies pull into the enemies, the battle in this game turned into a rhythmic dance in some way that is not only challenging but also fun and satisfying to learn. If we want to compare it to the same genre, Souls-like games are much heavily relies on rolling than anything else. This is exactly one of the reasons I'm not really into Dark Souls and Elden Ring, because most of the time you just watch and wait while the boss doing all their crazy move, and you just either keep running and rolling around over and over. The lack of flashiness, I guess, what pulled me away from liking those type of game. I like how this game goes more in line with Sekiro, with the right amount of flashy combat that will not only make you feel powerful, but actually have the sense of belonging in the world, and not just some random person with a sword fighting God or something. Secondly, the visuals are not that bad, at least compared to a lot of these cel-shading anime games which heavily relies on art style. Cel-shading anime games does have a bad reputation for being cash grab gambling slop that attract gooners. And also the art style were generally seen as lazy with overly smooth model and have sort of the same gameplay, which makes it hard to distinguish between them. And the pursuit of making good looking anime cel-shading games does come at a price. Cel-shading involves complex shaders that need to accurately mimic hand-drawn style. It often relies heavily on texture mapping. If the textures are not perfectly aligned, or if the resolution is too low, this can cause visual artifacts. If you look at games that pursue this type of detailed cel-shading, most of the time it's kinda look like shit and play like shit performance-wise. And if you try to lower the quality of the game or use DLSS, it just looks outright terrible. This is why some anime games nowadays tend to go for this smooth looking and bland coloring in order to hide the artifacts, or goes for a vector look with a vibrant coloring. Luckily, these artifacts are not really distracting enough in this game, thanks to the clever use of darker lighting and overall dark atmosphere. But I know a lot of people are still going to dismiss this game because they thought the game was gonna have the same art style as Final Fantasy VII Remake, the sort of combination of realism and fantasy based on the marketing trailer. It's sort of false marketing in some way. However, based on the demo, I don't really mind it, especially how they make this art style work, in which so many fail to do so. Lastly, the story is easy to follow. Unlike many games in this genre that have cryptic storytelling and, in other words, pretentious as fuck, this is the game that seemed to break the mold and finally give us some actual story in a Souls-like genre. I can't guarantee the quality of the writing, but if talking about other JRPG games, it's gonna be one of those reading 5,000 pages of backstory to understand what is going on. But it is better to know that there is some effort into storytelling and directing. Yes, I know, the reason people like Souls game is because they want to learn about it through the environment and gameplay. It's a great conversation starter, and it make a really good YouTube videos. But I'm not gonna sit there twirling my thumb, smirking, thinking it is the greatest storytelling in gaming of all time, just because I watched some guy on YouTube talking about it, who may or may not have made it all up. Writing a story for game is hard, but writing a good story is harder. It's an alchemy of several elements that together evoke emotions and forge connection that not many can be able to achieve. The reason I wanted a Souls game that have an actual story is so that I have something to push toward and worth seeing to the end. It doesn't have to be in the level of games like God of War. We know you're not gonna be the Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino of gaming, but at least just try. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent. The story in this game so far seems to be a revenge story, so it should be pretty easy to follow along. So to sum it all up, despite initial skepticism, Berserker Khazan manages to defy many of the shortcomings of anime-style video games, particularly Souls-like one. Its compelling combat, which smartly integrates stamina management and parrying mechanics, makes each encounter an engaging challenge. The visual might have been a sore point for some, but the developers' approach to cel-shading pays off in a way that enhances rather than distracts. It is refreshing to see a Souls game that doesn't rely on confusing storytelling or pretentious overtone. This game has the potential to be the best Souls-like game. It has its charm, also worth playing. Thanks for watching. I hope you give Berserker Khazan a shot. Yeah, that's about it. See ya.